Hi, this is Justin Smith for the Listen Now campaign, an initiative of Tobin Brothers Funerals. Make sure you follow us on the social media platforms. It's just hashtag Listen Now. We're trying to have better conversations, more conversations around mental health. Today, I wanted to catch up with Shelley Tennant. Shelley is one of our paramedics, and look, she's just a ripper. I spoke with her early last year, for a podcast. And this was just when COVID was starting to kick in. It was during that first lockdown, and we were sort of getting an understanding of, what was going on and just how tough things were for people on the front line, like the police and the paramedics. But we could never have imagined that more than a year later, now getting towards the end of 2021, that we'd still be dealing with it in the same way. And I wanted to catch up with Shelley and talk to her about it. Shelley, thanks very much for the chat. How are things out there?
Things are rough, to be honest. And, in one way we're used to it. It's been 18 months, but I don't think the coming couple of months are going to be like nothing we've faced before.
So you think we're coming up to a bad patch? We've already had a few bad patches, but you think we're coming up to a bad patch? Well, what do you put that down to?
That's a few different things. I mean, the infection rate is exponential. We can't get on top of it. It's going to keep getting worse, and it's going to spread. It spreads fast to families, multi-generational families living in homes together. Plus, lockdown will be easing. The weather will be turning. People are out and about. So the workload is going to be huge for us.
When you talk to people, when you see people and you're moving around, what is the mental health strain?
It's just tough for everyone in different ways. Some of the patients we go to, they're construction workers who can't get jobs. The whole family's got no income overnight. They've got newborn babies. They've got kids homeschooling. They can't pay a mortgage, or their business, they own a cafe that's been closed for 6 months. And there was just no end in sight, really.
Because you're dealing with a level of desperation that really nobody has seen before. No one alive today has really seen that level of desperation, I would think.
Yeah. No, I try to explain that to my kids because it's become normal for them, homeschooling and everything. And I try to explain, mummy's never seen this before, or nanny, and even Nan, who was 91 before she died a few months ago. Nan had never seen this before. And they're like, what are you talking about? Where it will just roll into part of their growing up journey, I suppose, later on.
So what does that look like for you when you turn up to a patient, you get a call out and you go to see somebody and you just find that, there is nothing wrong with them physically, but they have just reached a point where they're locked down, their freedom has been, their freedom is not there. I don't want to say taken away because I'm not trying to blame anybody for it, but they don't have their freedom. There's unemployment, there's desperation in the house, probably alcohol. Are these the things you're seeing, and what do you say to these people?
Yeah, it's heartbreaking, and all you can do is try and empathize with them because, we see everyone, right? And everyone has their own journey and their own story, and everyone is doing it tough in different circumstances. You just don't know what anyone's going through. And a lot of the time when we get called, it's not an emergency, but they've got no one else to ring. It's, and I get it. They've tried, they've rung this person, that person, no one can come over and help with the kids. The mental health lines are full. You can't get on to your psychologist. It's 6 weeks appointment, wait lists. And so we're their last call. And so sometimes they just need someone to talk with and listen to, which is really hard when we're under such high demand. And, when you're in PPE, you can't have a cuddle with someone, it's incredibly tough.
So, Shelley, that leads me into how you guys are going. Because that has really got to take, listening to that, having people call you out for that reason, and so much so that you want to cuddle the person to make them feel better. So how do you guys handle that?
We're working, 50, 60, 70 hours a week. It's not uncommon to do 10 or 15 hours of overtime every fortnight at the moment. because you can't get home because the workload's so big. And, you know, most of us have the same pressures as well, right? We've got kids at home and we've got family we can't see interstate or that you haven't seen in 2 years. So I think we're lucky for a couple of reasons. We're lucky we've got a job and we've got an income. I can still pay my bills. And we're lucky that we've got each other. Every branch is like a family. I mean, I've been at my branch 15 years and they're some of my best friends who I know would look out for me just like I would look out for them. So I think, and you know me, Justin, I get a bit emotional. Sorry.
Yeah, no, don't be sorry.
Luckily, we have each other.
That must be so important to know, to have somebody in the same uniform feeling the same way that you're feeling right now. God, I can see it, Shelley. It's been bloody hard on you guys, hasn't it?
Yeah. And it has been really hard, but it's the same for us, the fireys, the police, the nurses. Everyone understands. Everyone understands. We're all in it together. You know, even if you're stuck at hospital for a few hours, you know that someone else understands what's going on.
What is it like to arrive at a house and the mental health is sort of running on empty almost in that household? I know that some people would have felt it and would have seen it, but I mean, what is that like for you when it is just running on empty in a place?
It's heartbreaking because there's not a lot we can do. You know, if someone's critically unwell with mental health, we can take them to hospital, that's fine. But, you know, what they're missing, we can't give them. Their loved ones, some support, a break from the four walls they've been in for 18 months. It's really tough to see.
And this is going to be a hard one to answer because I don't think anyone really knows the answer to this. But what have we learned from this? Or is that if it's too early to tell? I mean, you know, but have we learned anything from this yet?
I've learned personally through this what's important to me, which I knew before, but I don't think I'd appreciate it as much. You know, after the really big, nasty lockdowns, I don't miss holidays or travel overseas or things like that. I miss having my family or friends round, you know, it's a bit boring, but we normally do a jigsaw with a glass of wine while the kids play or watch a movie. And, you know, my mum's been stuck down in Geelong caring for my grandma who's since passed away for the last year and a half. So not being able to see them or the other grandparents on Phillip Island. So what I've learned is how important my dear friends are and my family, and how much my ambulance family supports me as well.
Do you feel it? I think that's important to touch on. And when we talk about the ambulance family, Victorians take a lot of ownership over their paramedics and the ambos. I think they take a lot of ownership over them. Do you feel that love? Do you feel that support from people?
Gosh, so much. They are just beautiful. Even, you know, it doesn't matter where we stop at the moment. I was in between branches the other day and I stopped for a coffee, and these two lovely women walking in their dogs and just had the nicest things to say and were so appreciative, and it's really humbling. But I always feel a bit awkward because I think, well, I've got a job, I'm okay. But it's so lovely when they do that, or they put signs in their windows, or sometimes they drop Vicky's off at the branch. The Victorian public have always supported us, and it hasn't changed.
Yeah. I'm glad you can feel that, because I know that's how, that's really how people feel towards you. And, we look at our police getting attacked on the streets, and I think these are very, very hard things for Victorians to watch, it's, because we do feel strongly about you guys. And Shelley, there's something we've been talking about in this series, which is, I don't think we can look at because there was a lot of talk last year about suicide numbers. Now, suicide's up and suicide's down, and there was a debate about what it was. And help me out here, because to me it feels like it is not just numbers. It is not just suicide numbers that we have to look at. We have to look at self-harm. We have to look at attempted suicides. We have to look at threats of suicide, cries for help. Is that how you read it as well? I mean, you're seeing this more than I am. Is that how you see it?
Yeah, it's huge. I don't have data on that. Someone here would, but from the coroner's court, and seeing the suicide stats, but I don't know. Are we seeing it more just because I'm in the city? Has it changed, in suburban areas? I don't know. I mean, one day last year, I went to 3 in a day, and that would never normally happen.
Yeah.
And the self-harm, the thoughts of suicidal ideations is significant, and it's heartbreaking because it doesn't discriminate. It's across all sectors of society, and everyone's trying their best. And the families are trying desperately to get support for their loved ones, and the need is just astonishing at the moment.
I wanted to ask you about the suicide and the self-harm, because there is that danger of it becoming just about numbers, and I think it's what people like you are seeing, it's what you're witnessing, and also what you're feeling. We're not trying to pin this on anybody here. We're just trying to get an understanding of some of the desperation that we're seeing.
Yeah. I think you've hit it there. Like, it is desperation. So for someone who was on the border, really struggling beforehand, a lockdown can just finish them off. And I know for me, I've made an effort specifically to call friends and, older neighbours who I know live alone. Not that I'm worried about them, but I just think, gosh, it would be really hard alone. As hard as it is homeschooling and being all cramped and being frustrated, I can't imagine being alone. I have an elderly neighbour who we've known for 20 years, but both of her kids and all the grandkids live overseas. So I just ring her every Monday, just check in, make sure she's fine. So I think that's really important. I think for the people living alone who wouldn't normally reach out and ask for help, if you can be proactive and contact them, that could be the difference sometimes.
Yeah. I think that's terrific. That's great advice. It's really good to see you, and I thank you very much for taking the time. I love that smile. I remember that smile from seeing you, last year, and I'm glad. The Greys there. Hey, don't get me started, girlfriend, on the Greys. These are kicking in. You like this? My wife did this haircut. It's actually not too bad, to be frank.